The name I have to use is Peggy Ann Dempsey. I married the Childers. And I'm not going into my, find out about my kidnapping and my real name and everything, because I've put it up before. I have two YouTube accounts and I'm on Facebook. I just really wanted to address this. I've put up quite a few over the last 5 years, six, and especially over the last month, 2 months since the Parkland shooting in Florida. I told back then, and I'm being redundant, that was supposed. These are done in patterns. They're mind control murders. Back when I wrote the book, I was writing a medical malpractice book in 1976 about mind control and programming. It was the Tesla files that were stolen back in 1930, where you could program a person to kill in any manner. It doesn't have to be a gun, but you can mass do them. Back then, it was like, even before 1930, when they were stolen, King Ferdinand was killed by a program shooter, and Sophie, his wife, was killed at the same time by a program shooter. So I could go into the list. There's lists and lists of it, and where they can make disappear of natural cause like heart attack, cancer, etc., or even commit suicide. And that Robin Williams of Mark for Mark, he was one of those that people think he committed suicide. No, he was a puppet, and he was programmed to kill himself in in the negative behavior he had. Or I should say he was in depression. I don't know, that's not behavior, but it made it look like he naturally killed himself, and he didn't. It's no different than the Virginia Tech, where the young student from South Korea killed the 32 and turned the gun on himself. And he was programmed to, and it's very, what's the word I'm trying to reach now? Well, I can't think of the word for it. The precision in all of it. They don't know it's going to happen, and they can't help it. They're victims themselves, just like James Holmes of the rural Colorado, where they've got him in a mental institution treating him for a non-existent illness on psychotic drugs. That's what they're doing with a lot of people, and they're promoting it now. And believe me, Congress and the media that's controlled by the Illuminati, you'll tune me out here, and I'm telling you the truth. They're framing Trump. Trump told you that that the press is controlled in. They are. They haven't told a bit of the truth, especially about these mind control murders either. And about me and what happened to me. I ran in a political campaign, let me say that. It was flown out to Mr. Flint's in October of 83, twice. He flew me out there because he'd been shot in Lawrenceville, Georgia, when I was doing the book in Marietta, Georgia. And his attorney killed, and the judge in it was almost killed. Anyway, that was a program shooter. Just like most of these that the media has covered, Gabby Gifford, the congresswoman who was married to the twin, Mark Kelly, an astronaut, Scott Kelly, an astronaut. They're identical brothers. And now then they're saying, I'm going to throw this in for if this is ever told, they're saying that his DNA was changed, Scott's was, while he was up orbiting on the space lab and all that. Now I want to get back to this, and it's really what I meant to put at the first without giving any more background. What's going on now with the children from Parkland and all over there, the media for some reason is suddenly covering this, and they're getting the attention. And they mean well, I'm sure, but they're misinformed because the media hasn't told it, and quite frankly, the parents don't like, people in general don't want to hear it. It's something they can't see. They don't want to think the government's doing it, and they tune it out. They think it'll just go away unless it happens to their child. But if you don't know that your child's been programmed, and your child is put on death row, like Cruz down in Florida will be if things aren't changed, I'm trying to think of the gentleman, Timothy McVeigh, that built the bomb in the Murray building, Federal Murray building in Oklahoma City. He was put to death. How many of these that you will never know were done like that? You can do it in mass. You can program armies or one or two. It doesn't have to, and this is where I'm going. If you want to look at my videos, I've got two accounts. One's Peggy Childers that I've just put up maybe a rash of them the last week. I said when the Parkland should be the last. Parkland, Florida, not the Parkland Hospital I've talked about out in Dallas, where John Kennedy, who helped kidnap me, was taken. But there is these are done in patterns, and I'm not going to try to explain it. You can't write it at the moment, the whole thing, but it does prove itself if it's ever addressed, and that's what has to be. You have to address the weapon that's being used as mind control. It's not your guns. You're off on the wrong road here. Your guns, the people, most of those are all people under mind control, and that's what has to be addressed to get it stopped. How about, and this is where I'm headed here, the explosives. I said when the first one went off out in, I don't know if the first explosive went off in Austin or not. It was in Texas, I believe, this time. But this is mind control. It's singular, so people think, oh, well, they killed Mark Anthony Condiff out in, and now his memories even smeared, calling him serial bomber and all this. He was programmed, and like the others that were programmed, like Virginia Tech and the Sandy Hook, the young man that killed his mother and killed the students, he was programmed, for God's sake. He's a victim like the rest of them, but they killed himself. Well, he had an explosive, and he was programmed to kill himself, and that's what happened. His name is smeared. His mom and dad and his community that knew him said he was a good fella. In other words, it's almost like the people doing it are showing you. They can program people from day one after they come out of your womb. The mothers, all right, they can start it right after then. I know specifically of like age 2 and 3 years old, they start programming them. Now then, that's what you have to address. Are you losing the whole ball game while these kids, and that's what it is, a game of chess. I don't know what's wrong with people. I really don't. Because you don't have to even take my word for it. You can go to Google, and you can Google MK Ultra. You can Google mind control. It won't tell you what I'm doing, which can be proven. But first you got to get people's worldwide attention. If they don't see it on the media that's controlled, they're the ones that won't tell any of it. So that's what's shocking, except it's if they don't tell about the mind control, that's a weapon being used, and they're going to take your guns away, which is exactly what the global government wants. So those of you who don't keep up with information. Oh, I want to say this. You tune out the MK Ultra and mind control. It was night before last. I was listening to a program, Coast to Coast, and the persons who run that program for a long time, they really know all this. But one of the people they had on there, he wasn't a host, kind of. I think he works for them a bit. But he called the young man Mark Condiff that blew himself up with a bomb. And he was the one that put the bomb he was programmed to, and FedEx and the other 3 or 4, I don't know how many. But my point is that, I'll lose my point here. The point is that on Coast to Coast, night before last, the person that works for him and comes on, I think, just about every night, briefly telling the highlights, I suppose, of the day, or, he said that, referred to Mark, this young man who's a victim of mind control that blew himself up with a bomb. Mark Condiff said that he had a screw loose. a screw loose. He's a victim of mind control. How sick can people be?